It was a regular afternoon in a quiet neighborhood. Judge Angela Reynolds had just finished a long day in court. She was tired, eager to get home, take off her heels, and enjoy a quiet evening. Dressed in a simple blouse and slacks, she didn't look like much, at least not to the officer who pulled her over. Officer Mark Stevens had been patrolling the area, looking for anything suspicious. When he spotted Angela, a black woman driving an expensive car, his suspicions flared. She hadn't broken any laws, no speeding, no running lights, nothing. But in his mind, something about her didn't belong. He flicked on his sirens. Angela sighed as she glanced in the rearview mirror. She knew this routine all too well. She pulled over, kept her hands on the wheel, and waited. "License and registration," the officer demanded when he reached her window. Angela raised an eyebrow. No greeting, no explanation. Just immediate authority. Still, she kept her voice calm. "Can I ask why you pulled me over?" "License and registration," he repeated, his tone sharper this time. Angela nodded and reached for her purse. But before she could even pull out her wallet, Officer Stevens' hand went to his holster. "Slowly," he barked. Her stomach clenched. The fear was real, even though she had done nothing wrong. Even though she had spent her career fighting for justice. In this moment, she was just another black woman being treated as a threat. She carefully handed over her ID and registration. The officer snatched it from her and walked back to his car. Minutes passed. Angela kept breathing, kept reminding herself to stay calm, but she could see the people passing by, staring at her as if she had done something wrong. Then, another patrol car arrived. 2 more officers stepped out. Angela's hands clenched. Why did he call back up? What had she done? Officer Stevens returned. "Step out of the car." "For what?" she asked, her voice steady but firm. "I said step out," he snapped, grabbing at her door handle. Angela took a slow breath, then opened the door. The moment she stood up, he turned her around and grabbed her wrists. Cold metal snapped around them. Handcuffs. Angela didn't fight, she didn't resist, but she looked him straight in the eye. "This is a mistake," Officer Stevens smirked. "That's what they all say." He walked her to the patrol car, pushing her in without care. By now, a small crowd had gathered, murmuring among themselves. A black woman in handcuffs, an expensive car. To them, the story probably seemed obvious. Inside the patrol car, Angela sat still. She had spent years in law school, years climbing the ranks, and now she was a respected judge. But none of that mattered right now. Right now, she was just another black person assumed to be guilty. Minutes later, the officers ran her ID again. And that's when everything changed. Officer Stevens suddenly went pale. His jaw tightened, his posture shifted. He hurried back to the car and opened the door. "Ma'am, Judge Reynolds, Angela stepped out, holding his gaze. "Yes, officer?" His mouth opened, then closed. He fumbled for words. "There was a misunderstanding." Angela raised an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding?" Another officer, clearly more senior, stepped forward. "Your Honor, we sincerely apologize. Officer Stevens didn't realize who you were." Angela tilted her head. "And if I weren't a judge? If I were just another black woman driving home, would I still be standing here in cuffs?" Silence. No one had an answer. She sighed and took off the handcuffs herself, tossing them back into Stevens' hands. "Do better," she said, before walking back to her car. That night, she sat at home, thinking about all the people who didn't have her power. The ones who couldn't say, "I'm a judge." The ones who ended up in jail, or worse, for nothing at all. She knew one thing for certain: this fight wasn't over. In the following days, Angela made sure this incident didn't just get brushed under the rug. She filed a formal complaint against Officer Stevens, ensuring an internal investigation would be launched. She used her influence to push for police reform discussions in her city, demanding officers undergo more thorough bias training. The story made headlines. News outlets picked it up, sparking national conversations about racial profiling. Civil rights activists reached out, eager to collaborate with Angela to make sure no one else would have to go through what she did. And while Officer Stevens was eventually reprimanded, Angela knew this wasn't about just one cop. It was about a system that allowed this to happen in the first place. A system that needed change. So she kept fighting, kept using her voice, her platform, her power, because she knew that while she had been able to walk away that day, so many others hadn't been as lucky. Angela took her advocacy a step further. She began working with lawmakers to introduce policies that would require more stringent police accountability measures. She joined town halls and public forums, sharing her experience and listening to others who had faced similar injustices. Her voice became a powerful tool, pushing for real legislative change. She also partnered with local community organizations to develop educational programs for young people, teaching them about their rights when interacting with law enforcement. She wanted to empower others, ensuring that the next generation would not have to face the same fear and discrimination she had endured. Her story continued to inspire. Universities invited her to speak, legal organizations sought her expertise, and activists rallied behind her cause. Judge Angela Reynolds was no longer just a symbol of resilience, she was a catalyst for real, lasting change. The fight was far from over. But Angela had turned her personal injustice into a movement, ensuring that no one else would have to suffer the same fate without a voice to stand up for them. And she would never stop fighting for justice. Hey everyone, if this story moved you, if it made you think, or if it reminded you why we need to keep having these conversations, please take a moment to like this video. It really helps spread awareness. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed or experienced something like this? Let's talk about it. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're here to share real, powerful stories that need to be heard. Lastly, share this with your friends and family. The more people who see this, the more we can bring awareness and change. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Let's keep pushing forward, together.